One.
And
Hello.
one. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spire of Sorcery 3 stream, the Jubilee edition. It's our 50th stream, apparently.
I thought you said welcome to Spire of Sorcery 3.
That's what I said at first, because...
It's the third version of the game that we launched.
Yeah.
So here's hoping that this English language stream does not experience any technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And we can run through the Cat and Plans. The Cat and Plan is that we're going to give you an update of where we are right now with limited early access, and then launch the game while Rita will be playing the game. I will talk about the next features and content updates that we have on the plan for the coming 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So the general plan right now is that we will transition to general early access at the end of January. Maybe not. It still depends. I mean, that's the ambition, so don't take it to mean that this is a guaranteed plan, but that's definitely what we currently target. And before we transition to general early access, we need to tackle a number of issues. And the biggest question for us is choosing what to do now and what to do later. That's the biggest headache for everyone. So we're spending a lot of time.
Choosing priorities, basically, yeah? Choosing priorities, yeah?
Yep. And right now we've got 1.2 thousand players in the game with an average of 300 people playing the game on average in 7 days, like every day. The leading country in terms of revenue is Japan, and the leading country in terms of population is Russia. And then we've got China, US, and Ukraine. That's by population, and by revenue, I totally forgot about the whole thing.
I think we need to learn Japanese. I again.
I did my best with Chinese, and probably I can do my best with Japanese, but sometime after we transition into full launch. In terms of feedback, we've got enough feedback to go on. What we discovered is that people give more or less similar feedback from different countries. We did not discover that, for example, players from one country would want different things than players from another country. And pretty much everyone seems to be interested in certain things and not interested in other things. And as a general approach, we try to look at the cause of the feedback. And sometimes reacting to feedback means not doing what people want, but thinking why that happens and then fixing the root issue. So, for example, there's currently a lot of items in the warehouse after a certain time, like you play for 400 days, 500 days. And the way for us to fix this is not to let you recycle or throw out stuff, but the way is to rebalance the crafting recipes and the resources in the game so that you're not able, in the loot system, so that you're not able to get 60 daggers and 50 bedrolls and so on.
Bedrolls are useful, though. Bedrolls are always needed.
That's true. So the other thing that we're currently discovering and that we're making actively is we're simplifying a lot of stuff that apparently we have in the game. Doesn't give you a huge effect, but it takes a lot of effort just to describe the whole thing. So to give you some examples, with the Call of the Spire, the system that we have right now in the Cat and Beta is that you raise 500 magic energy points, you spend them, and you get a new disciple. That's it. Pretty easy to understand. The next disciple costs you 100 more, and then 100 more, and then 100. The way that we had it last week was that you could raise 500, you could continue going after 500 and get 600 and 700 energy points. And all of that improved, gave a bonus to the chance that was checked every hour, every day, for having a disciple arrive to the Spire. So all of those little things kind of worked out anyway, that you got a new disciple within a couple of days. And it's completely pointless, like the whole difficult situation and the whole difficult system, And so we just simplified the whole thing. We basically said,
Oh.
look, let's make it simple. Let's make it much more easier to understand and to explain. And that's the way that we do on systems. On some game systems, for example, on skill checks, we had this thing that theory had one level and practice had another level. And what about this axe or a sword? Does it affect only practice or theory? And we're like, you know what? Let's just make it so that items affect the whole level of skill check and then everything
Mhm.
else. So, so we basically discovered that the systems that are simple to explain are the systems that work. We don't like complicated systems. The same thing with this limit on the theory experience that you could not, in the game last week, for example, you could not exceed your practice level by 2 with your theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of explanations and discussions, and if you ask some people, they will tell you, it makes sense because of this and this and this. But in fact, it was so difficult to explain. It was like, yeah, so because of this, we need to show you a warning that you've
Mm.
reached your limit and you're losing some experience or your experience gain slowed down. Uh, and maybe your reading task should be terminated right now or put on pause. It was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, like it's in so many places in the game we had to explain the whole thing over and over and over again.
Mm.
And we just said, what if we remove this limit altogether? And we removed it. And it's just, nothing really changed in a major way, but it became much easier to work and to play and to do everything. So that's our general approach right now. We simplify the system so that the fun comes from the combination of easy to understand mechanics and not
Mhm.
from some complicated mechanics with limits and prohibitions that people have
Oh.
to learn and then apply because it's not fun. It's like it's not really a game about micro. It's a game about exploring the world and not checking every quest and task for limit.
Yeah.
Anyway, with this said, let's just maybe jump into the game, and
Let's
I will in
jump.
the background just talk about what we plan for the next
Okay.
2 months.
We're in the game.
Cool. So starting with balancing, of course, the current plan is that a lot of like everything, pretty much everything in the game will get balanced and rebalanced and rebalanced. And uh, think about it this way: we fine tune the system, the logic, then we lock down the interface, and then we balance the balance. So if there's a let's say a loot system, our first priority is to make sure that there is loot in the game. The second is to show you the loot that you get from different events. And only after that, we will balance the loot, how much you should get and what are the chances and so on and so on. We don't start with the balance. We start with just introducing the system and then we're checking how it works. We're currently working on upgrading the hospital,
Mm.
which has pretty complicated interface, and we don't like that. We like it to be more simple. We are currently working on the next version, the next edition of the combat mechanics. Combat right now is fairly simple, and we think it should be more complicated and more complex and more varied with different types of damage, different protection. You can already see protection logged in, but at this time, there is no chance that, for example, you cannot uh, kill this creature by, let's say, physical damage. You need fire damage or you need acid damage. But this is coming down the line. This is our ambition that there's more than one way of attacking in combat, and certain creatures will be more likely to be won over in certain different ways. We plan in the next 8 weeks to brush up the encyclopedia, which currently still is a bit out of synchronization with the rest of the game and misses some of the information. We currently having the plan the rework of the system of poisons, diseases, and injuries. These three things are connected to the hospital. We think for the last like 4 weeks. We already have the new system designed, but we haven't had the time to implement this in the game yet. We will find that time. We will split the current main quest of finding the librarian into a bunch of smaller quests, so you don't really, start with this huge thing. Find the librarian, go! But more of
Yeah.
first you have to, go here and do this and that. You do this, and you do that. We definitely will harmonize the way that you control your characters. Right now, you can set schedule for your mage in one way and for your disciples in another way. We will transition to a system where where they make their own decisions, and so you don't really have to set their schedule. If they're tired, they're gonna go and rest. So that'll remove a lot of things like, oh, my disciple was tired when he attempted this and this. Well, he was
Mm.
tired because there is a schedule that says that you have to walk for, I don't know, 10 hours every day when you're on expedition. So by the end of the day, everyone is tired and everyone is hungry.
Yeah.
But we'll modify so that if the leader of the party is already tired and hungry, then they will just stop and eat and then
Makes sense.
continue. We'll introduce the system of personal equipment. Right now, you just throw everything into one backpack, and that backpack with the party goes out, and the party uses different things as they see fit. But we have no doubts that we need a system of personal inventory so you can have a better degree of control over who gets what. We will uh, add the option for parties to retreat when they feel that their chances are low of success and they have
Mm-hmm.
to go back home. So this will save you some trouble in terms of healing a lot of parties that are hurt. At the same time, you will not be just send people on suicide mission. Somehow, one of them crawls back and delivers what you wanted. Really, we're looking on to throw into the game a bunch of new items, including rings and amulets and necklaces that will have magic properties. Haven't done that yet. Haven't come around that yet. It's not very complicated. Just that it's not very high on the priority list right now. We will transition to the new book system, thematic ruins. You can read about this on the forums already. I think there's a few hundred comments already on the forum that got posted during the last week. And I think
Yeah.
this is the best source of information. You can go and join the discussion, talk about new spells, new rituals. Of course, discussions are different in different languages. I think right now the most active discussion group is in Russian, but pretty sure that language content is still pretty rapidly evolving. Um, and then we will finally work on, well, we'll update the way that you experiment. We will work on letting you create your own mage character at the start, which was kind of a unexpected thing for us because we don't really put a lot of focus on this. Can you create your, sure, eventually. Can I create my own portrait? Yeah, sure, eventually. But apparently, looking at the numbers of people who joined the discussion, people feel in every country that this is an important part of the game. They want it, so we've upgraded the priority of that whole thing. And
Hmm.
then I think that's pretty much it. So maybe updating the skill check to be more transparent because right now the two stages, access to the action and then checking specific action, are not super clearly separated. And then once you pass or fail skill check, sometimes it's not very obvious why that happened and how you can prevent, for example, failure the next time you play. So we'll work to correct this. And generally, it's like halftime. Um, we do the fixes, which will soon decrease as we fix most of the open issues. And then the other half of our development time is spent on creating new content and new features, or updating the systems based on the feedback. And we see that this is confusing, this is confusing, this is confusing. So, we're transitioning to the new version of that system. And in our experience, it does not pay off to sort of be very stubborn and say, oh, this is stupid. We pretty much we look we identify that the same thing is confusing a lot of people. And if it fits our vision, then we're going to just go and certain things don't fit our vision. So, for example, we're not building a micromanagement game. So, whatever suggestions about micromanaging are not going to fly. But everything that fits the vision, we're very happy to make it happen.
Nice. Sounds good.
If you guys have any questions, then there's a link to the forum under this video. You can also post questions, comments on YouTube. Generally, we're super happy, overloaded with feedback and with things to do. And right now, our biggest challenge is just selecting and focusing on the specific issues that we want to tackle right now, as opposed to, let's say, 3 months down the line. For example, we know that in the next couple of months, we'd like to add the integration with Steam Workshop. It's in the plan. It's nothing complicated for us. There's already the editor, but we just haven't gotten around that. So a lot of things like that will have to happen before we transition to the general early access. Right now, you can see a kind of a sketch of the game. You can see, in some moments you will catch yourself say, "Oh, wow, that's cool, that's cool." But there's still a lot of work to be done before we can transition to the general early access, where the audience is, generally a bit more demanding. And then once we transition to general early access, continue with weekly updates and launching beta builds on Steam, and then continue marching and working. And at the same time, we don't really make long-term plans. We don't really say in 6 months we're going to do this or that.
Yeah.
It's all about the balance. We look at the things and we say, well, this seems to be lacking, or let's try this, and then if it works, then maybe it's already cool. So we don't keep a list of like 50 spells that we want to make. We have a list of maybe 10 spells that we'd like to make, and then we'll check the results and we'll check the events. So once we add portals, we'll see, should we do the recall party spell? Should we do like teleport home, bring back home, or some other spell? So that's generally the way that we approach it.
Basically, working on basic stuff first, making sure that it works, and then we can add more features to it.
Yeah. It's very often discovered that doing advanced features doesn't really make sense if you're not certain that the basic mechanic is well tuned. That maybe the whole mechanic is thrown overboard. Just like with the cooked food, we've gone through quite a few revisions on the cooked food angle, and in the end,
we started with a very complicated mechanic, and we added it to the game, and then we had to simplify. So basically, you have to do the job twice. So it's better to start with the simplest version, and then add more and more to it, isn't it?
Yeah. That's generally our approach. Is basically we're not able to act as prophets and say, "Hey, this is what is going to happen." The system that we're building in the game is complicated, and so I don't think anyone actually in the community can sit down and forecast and say, "Well, this is all things that you guys have to do." We don't really know. We have the vision. We follow towards that vision. Make small steps, and we'll see how it works.
All right.
Good. So see you guys next week. No technical problems this time around on the English language stream.
Yeah, it's a lucky stream. Nice. Okay.
We'll see about next week.
Yeah, we'll see about next. Don't worry, we'll screw it up next week. We'll make sure. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Join the forums, and thanks for your support so far. The people who are already playing. And see you next Wednesday.
Yep. See ya. Ciao.
See ya.